All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just a quick introduction. I'm Jeremy Hips. I'm one of the owners of MatBoss. Um, we're happy to have you guys here. I'm gonna run through as much as I can today. I love when it's interactive, and so if you guys want to ask a question, feel free to type it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask at any time. Don't worry about interrupting or anything like that. If you guys have questions, I'm sure other people have the same questions or maybe struggling with the same thing. So feel free to make this interactive. It makes it a lot more fun. If you guys ask questions or make comments and things like that. So with that, I'll just get underway. So the first thing is I want to point out a few resources that are available for MatBoss in case you guys are struggling or want to learn how to do something outside of this call. So if you go to our main marketing website at www.matboss.com, at the very top of the site that I'm on here, you can see there's a help section. And there's a few things in this help section I want to point out. Obviously, the first one is customer training. You guys are all on the training tonight, so you found this. But we're also going to have recordings of all the past training sessions on there also. So if there's folks on your team that you want to watch a training and they can't join during this time, they can click into there and watch one of the previous trainings. Or if there's folks who want to join a future one, point them to that page and managers can join. Anybody on the team can join if they want to, just by going there. The next link here is a season setup checklist. I'll just highlight this briefly. Just kind of a helpful guide that can um, walks you through a couple tips and tricks and things to make sure that you do as you get ready for the season. That includes things like confirm the devices, your recording devices, your iPads, etc., that you're going to use for the season. You want to make sure that you have the latest version of MatBoss installed on all of those devices. So what we don't want you to do is just pick up your iPads, go into the first tournament and then think that everything's going to work correctly, because obviously you want to get the latest version where we've made fixes. We've made some enhancements that I'm going to show tonight, some new features and things like that. But also you want to make sure that your roster and schedule is set up in MatBoss before you just pick up the iPad and go. Um, if you're using track wrestling or you're using USA bracketing and you want to import those into your MatBoss account, the first thing to do is obviously you can go into your MatBoss account and poke around and get ready and look at last season's video and things like that. But you probably want to go into track wrestling or USA bracketing and get your roster set up there and get your uh, there's just a question in the chat here. I saw how long does this it'll probably go about an hour. But feel free if you gotta leave earlier, no worries. We'll have a recording of the training available on the website. But you want to go into USA bracketing or track wrestling, get your schedule built out, get your roster built, and then those can be imported into MatBoss. And then the last thing just on here is about going in and practicing and using the app in the practice scorebook before you actually go to your first tournament. And I'll talk through some of that as we get into this. A few other things I'll point out in this help section, support tickets. If you ever need to get a hold of us, click on this help and send us a support ticket. Uh, in that support ticket form, there's also a phone number if you want to reach us. We love hearing from you guys, and we're always here to help. So reach out if you need support in any way. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. We try and provide really good customer support. So definitely reach out to us if you're struggling. And then lastly, if you click on tutorials, there is in the off season here, we built a lot of quick 2 to 3 minute how-to videos that show you how to do certain features or functions in the app. And they're quick, easy, straight to the point. And so check out those tutorials if there's anything that you're struggling with, and you can go in there and check that out. All right, I'm gonna pause for 1 second and then I'm gonna actually go into MatBoss. Does anybody have any questions or comments before I get underway? Okay. All right, so when you log into MatBoss, right now, the screen that you can see, I'm logging in through a web browser. And obviously you can log in from your computer like I am here into your MatBoss account. When you first log in for the returning customers, you'll notice that the website looks different this year. What we did in the off season is we made the website and the app on the iPads work, act, and function exactly the same between the two. So the good news on that is if you learn how to do something once, now you know how to do it. In the past, we had a different website that had different functions and you had to learn how to do things in a certain way, whether or not you're on the website or on the app, etc. So now it's all one consistent experience that you can get familiar with, learn how to do it, and then it doesn't matter kind of where you're interacting with MatBoss, it'll work the same. When you first log in, you'll notice that you should see a 2526 in the upper left. I can see I'm in a Minnesota high school boys account here, and then I can see the current season. If you're a returning customer, if you want to look at old video or old statistics from previous years, you just click on that season selector and you can go into any of those seasons and review videos, stats, etc. But what you also notice is when you first log in, obviously you have no events sitting in here because you haven't created or imported those. Your roster, however, will be filled out and your roster will have all the athletes that were on your roster from last year. So one of the first things I would recommend teams do is get your roster and your schedule built out in MatBoss. And you only have to do that in one spot. I think it usually makes sense to get it all cleaned up on the website because it's just easier to interact with that. And then once it's correct and the iPads connect to the internet and sync, all that information will be the same now on the iPads. And so if you get your roster and your schedule correct, all that stuff gets synced to the iPads, and then you're kind of good, ready to go for the season. So with your roster, when you're looking at your roster here, if you have athletes that have graduated and you don't want them on your roster anymore, your active roster, it's pretty simple from the roster page to just click on their level here. So let's say it's Ryan Buchanan here. You can click on the level, change that to former. That row will be highlighted, and then you can click save. And now that wrestler will be marked as a former athlete. MatBoss doesn't allow you to hard delete roster entries if that roster entry has had matches at some point in MatBoss. And we don't allow deletion of that because if we started deleting wrestlers that had matches, now your duels don't make sense, matches are kind of orphaned and things like that. So the way we do that is if you want, once a wrestler has quit or graduated, mark them as former. If the wrestler has never had matches in MatBoss, like maybe they joined for 2 weeks, they don't have any matches in here, you can delete those athletes by clicking edit on, if you know, like if you clicked into their name and you clicked edit, you could delete this wrestler like this. Um, in terms of importing your roster from Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing, MatBoss integrates with both those systems. So the states that have moved away from Track Wrestling and into USA Bracketing this year are Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Alaska, and Indiana. So there's 5 states that are in USA Bracketing. Almost everyone else is still on Track Wrestling. So one thing you want to double check is in MatBoss, if you go to settings on the left-hand side, you can see there's a Track Wrestling and a USA Bracketing link here. You just want to click on those and make sure that your team is assigned. So you can select your team here and save that. And that's what creates the linkage from your MatBoss account into your Track Wrestling account or your USA Bracketing account. Madison, I see your note here. Yeah, we're gonna record it, and the recording will be posted on the customer trainings page off the main MatBoss website. Okay, so make sure that your right team is selected based on whatever system your state is using. And then when you go to roster, you know, if you've built your roster in Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing, then you want to come here and click import. And then make sure that you're on the right tab, either Track Wrestling or USA Bracketing. And so you can see this USA Bracketing, your roster will come over like this. So on the left-hand side, all the names will show up from that system. And then MatBoss is looking at what's coming over from that system, and we're trying to match those names up with names that are already in your MatBoss account. So you can see, for example, the second row here, Braden Barrett, he's already in MatBoss, so we've already mapped him. He's good. But Jackson Anding, he doesn't have a MatBoss roster entry. So if you want the system to automatically create his roster entry, you would click into that and click to create new wrestler. And so you just want to go through the list and make sure everybody's matching up okay. And then you would click import on that screen. Now, the next step in this process is we're going to identify everybody that's in your MatBoss account that is not in track wrestling or USA bracketing. And usually these will be wrestlers that quit or have graduated or are former wrestlers. And so if you want to move them off your roster kind of in bulk, you could select all of those people like that, or select one or two and mark them as missing wrestlers, and then they'll be moved over to former status. When you do this import, we're also going to automatically update the year of those wrestlers. So if you're looking at your roster and you're like, hey, Hunter was a junior, when you do that import from track wrestling, if he's listed as a senior in track wrestling, we're going to update his grade to the latest grade. Getting your roster right is a big step, and it's an important step to start the season. So I just want to pause there and see if anybody has any questions about getting their roster right. Another new feature that we incorporated this year is occasionally coaches will get themselves in a situation where they have duplicate roster entries for the same wrestler. And in MatBoss now you have the ability to merge duplicate entries. So I'll just click on, if you click on an athlete up at the top, there's this merge wrestler. And you can click on that wrestler and then select the other wrestler that you want to merge. And it's going to take all the matches, merge them together underneath one athlete roster entry. So if you ever get duplicates, know that we've now given you the ability to merge those rosters together. Okay, let's talk about events and schedule. Oh, sorry. One other thing I want to mention on the roster is if you don't want to use the import, or you want to use the import for some of them, but then, some athletes didn't get added to track wrestling, you can always use the plus button in the lower right. If you click on that, you can always just add athletes to your roster manually here also. Okay, let's talk about events. So, as a reminder, MatBoss comes with 3 stat keeping scorebooks, and you can name and configure the weights underneath these scorebooks to match how you want to organize your team. So the way that you navigate between scorebooks is if you click on events at the top of the screen where it says events : varsity, and there's a drop down. If you click that drop down, you can see all of your scorebooks will come up and be available, and you can select what scorebook you want to go into and start working on. So this account has their scorebooks as varsity, junior varsity, and middle school. Every MatBoss account comes with a practice scorebook. A practice scorebook is a great place to go in and practice using the app, practice filming, practice scoring, maybe record wrestle-offs in there. But anything you record in the practice scorebook doesn't impact your team stats. So it's a great place to just goof around, play with it. You can delete events, but get your managers creating events in there and filming and getting really good with MatBoss before the first tournament or first event, including recording matches and going and uploading the matches at the end of that, just to make sure everything's working great. And that's a good way to make sure that everything's good and your managers are trained up before they go into the first tournament, where there's a lot of action and noise and mats going on, and they're not exactly sure what to do. So it's a good place to get comfortable. Every MatBoss account also comes with a scout scorebook. A scout scorebook, teams use that to go get film on other wrestlers that maybe they haven't, they're not competing against. So maybe they're at a tournament and there's a wrestler that's at that tournament that one of your team's gonna meet to go to state this year or something like that, and you want to go get some film on that wrestler. You could put that film in the scout scorebook or film them in the scout scorebook, and then be able to go back and reference that in the future. Now, not every state allows that, so make sure you understand your state's rules before you do that. And then lastly, a new feature that we've added to MatBoss this year that we think will be valuable to you guys is in every single account, we've added a freestyle and Greco scorebook. And so that freestyle and Greco scorebook is a great place to create events and film your athletes when in the off season if they're wrestling freestyle and Greco. And what you'll notice if you create events in that scorebook and film, the scoring interface will all be the freestyle and Greco scoring. So you're scoring exposures and grand amplitudes and step outs and all that sort of thing on that interface. And then the nice thing about any events that you score in that freestyle and Greco scorebook is you'll also have segregated freestyle and Greco stats for your athletes for any events that were recorded there. All right, I want to show you how to configure the scorebooks. So on the left-hand side of MatBoss, there's a settings, go into settings, and then you'll see a tab here for scorebook. If you click in Scorebook, this is where you can see you have these multiple scorebooks. So A squad, and then there's a custom A squad name where you can go in and name these scorebooks whatever you want. So this account, we called it varsity, B squad JV, middle school is the third one. Now, what you'll notice is you can also configure the weight classes underneath each scorebook. And this is important if you're using one of these scorebooks to run your middle school or your girls or something like that, that uses different weights than your main scorebooks. So you can come in here and you can modify the weight classes underneath each one of these scorebooks to match whatever, kind of the intent of that scorebook. The other feature that's available with configuring these scorebooks, and um, this is a feature that not a lot of coaches know about, but it can be helpful. So if you're a team that is competing in a different state and that state uses different weights than your home state, what you can do is, so this is a Minnesota account. Let's say they travel to Wisconsin for a tournament. They could come in here and click reset on the weights, pick Wisconsin. You can see all those weight classes updated. They can save those changes. And then for the events when they're filming in Wisconsin, they could be using those Wisconsin weights. Now they're back in Minnesota, and if they come back and reset it, they can reset back to Minnesota and save it and be back in Minnesota. So that's a way, that's a little trick or a feature if you're a team that travels around and sometimes you're competing at different weight classes and things like that. I'm going to pause there for a second. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, I do. So I had my first event yesterday,
Yep.
and so I'm strictly middle school.
Okay.
And I know a lot of this is geared toward the high school level.
Yep.
Um, However, so I set my score books up for seventh grade and eighth grade.
Okay.
Um, in the event, is there a way, because like on my events I had to make it the scorebook seventh grade or eighth grade. Is there a way that the event can just be like both, and then when you choose your roster participant that it automatically chooses seventh or eighth grade?
No, because the way that we think about it is we think about a scorebook as like a level of a team. And so any events that happen under a certain scorebook, all of those stats roll up into that level. And so that's why teams think about it as like, hey, varsity. And so any events that happen in this varsity scorebook are my varsity stats. Any
So
events that happen in my JV are those JV stats, etc.
so what in a particular situation where you're wrestling varsity
Mhm.
and right before the match, uh
Mhm.
one of your varsity people go out and you have to pull up a JV person,
Yep.
how should you deal with that situation?
You should just, when you build the match, select the wrestler that's wrestling because it doesn't matter what they're called on the roster. We only use, if you can see my roster right now. So
Yep.
we only use this level and this weight to try and pre-populate when new matches are created. So like when you create a new match at 103 that's in the varsity scorebook, we're going to try and pre-populate that name as the wrestler. Okay. But that doesn't prevent me from taking like a JV wrestler and putting that name in there. And because that's a varsity event, those will be varsity stats. We don't drive stats by what the level of the wrestler is called here on the roster. We drive stats based on where does the event sit?
So if I have an event that I have all my wrestlers, so my roster is separated into seventh and eighth grade, and then I choose an event that's an eighth grade, um, that I just generally put as an eighth grade rostered dual meet,
Yep.
and I just choose the people, whether they're seventh or eighth grade. Will
Yep.
that um all of those stats will go into eighth grade stats because it's an eighth grade event?
Yes. Yep. Yes, they
Uh,
will. So,
so I really need to just make a middle school roster, just one middle school roster, and then I can choose seventh or eighth grade. So then my next question is in my stats, is there any way to separate seventh and eighth grade stats?
only it not by not by yeah, actually let's hold that for 1 second because I'm going to
Okay.
get to stats and we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I had one other question.
Yep.
Um, is is there um is there a way to, if I've already done an event, I've already had videos put in an event, is there a way to change an event from a dual meet to a tournament?
There's not a way to change the type of event, but it's very easy to create the tournament and then merge the dual meet into that.
Oh,
Yeah. And I
okay.
can I
And
can
you
show
just click
that.
the merge button.
Yeah. Yeah. What you would want to do is let me see here.
And the reason I
So,
asked that is because for some reason, which I don't agree with this, but in our area, instead of doing true dual meets for middle school,
mhm,
us coaches just send each other's rosters and then just match up matches based on weight and a ranking that we've predetermined.
yeah,
So it's just a almost basically a tournament with just a bunch of matches, but we call it a dual meet because there's only two teams
right.
or three
So
teams.
you don't keep dual score basically. You're just
Right.
kind of yeah.
So
So
where
like
should I just do a tournament?
I would just do a tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then all the matches will be grouped together. So you can see like I have a couple different events here. That these are just test kind of
Yep.
things that I've been using to demo, but like you can see I have a tournament event here. It'll
Mm-hmm.
say tournament right here. One new structure for returning coaches that you'll like is that we created a new multi-dual event function. And
Yep.
so now you can have a multi-dual event like a quad or a try or a dual team tournament. And then if you click into that, you can have nested dual meets within there like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like what you're saying is, so if I'm looking at this dual meet, you got a bunch of matches you recorded in here. You could create a new tournament event, like I have the MatBoss open there,
Yep.
and I could click into this dual meet. I could say merge event, and then I'll find that what did I call it again?
Matt Boss Open.
The MatBoss open, yeah. The MatBoss open. And so it says select an event to merge with. This will move all the matches from that event into the selected event and delete the current event. So if I do this, I'll select the MatBoss open, merge it. And now that dual meet's gone away and all those matches that were in there are now in this MatBoss open.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Another new feature that we added to MatBoss this year for returning customers is this is a tournament event. And you can see at the top, there's a points and placement expander. So the feedback we've gotten in the past is like, hey, is there a way that we can capture what place kids took in tournaments and what place the team took in a tournament? And can we also have tournament points that kids are awarded that would be different than their dual team points? And so if you open up this points and placement tab, any wrestler that has matches in that tournament will have a row here. And then you can come in here and say, like, this wrestler took third place. They scored 4.5 matches in the tournament. Those points will add up to your team points for the tournament. And then you could also put, like, hey, my team took second in this tournament, etc. And then that'll be saved and that'll propagate through your reports, stats, etc. And then as you're looking at this, you can see your team points scored here for that individual tournament. Any questions on that? Okay. I'm going to jump into some video review things. But again, like keep jumping in if there's questions. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to last year so we can look at, oh, sorry. I'm in a,
Before you start, I had a bunch of glitch issues when I was reviewing my matches. Would you like me to jump in each time that I have a situation that you come across, or would you like me to wait to the end?
let's wait till the end and then other folks can drop if they want to. And I can stay as long as needed to help look at what you got going on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. All right. So when you're in MatBoss and you're ready to review and look at your video, there's a couple ways to be able to get to your video. The first one is obviously you can go into a dual meet and you can see the dual score here, 38 to 36. You can see the list of the matches and how that each match impacts the dual score. And then you can directly jump into a match and hit play and start watching it. Um, One thing that a lot of coaches know, but I always like to call out because I think it's super valuable is when you're watching a match in MatBoss, you don't have to grab the scrubber bar and try and roll it forward to get to the spot in the video that you're trying to look at. Instead, like let's say I wanted to see this reversal in the second period, I can just click on that scoring event and MapBoss is going to take you about 8 seconds before the reversal happened. So you can see how they got into the position. And then you're right at that spot in the video. And you can click on that as many times as you want. So I could click on it again. I want to watch it. Let's see that again, click on it. And so it's an easy way to navigate around the video by just clicking the scoring events here in the timeline. The other thing that you can do is you can slow down the video while you're watching it. So I can come here, I can go all the way down it's on the left-hand side where it says 1x. I'm clicking on that and I can slow this down to 25% speed or I can go up to 2x speed. But I'll go down to 25% speed, and then you could still click on these scoring events and watch some of this in slow motion to really kind of dig in and see what's going on with the video. Another new feature for returning customers is in the lower right of the video, you'll notice there's a text bubble icon. That's for capturing match notes. And so if you click on that icon, you and the wrestlers can add match notes to this match. So you could come on here and be like, great match. I want you to stay aggressive through the match or something like that, just as a kind of generic example. And then you save that. So now you have a note that is saved with the match that you and the wrestlers can go back and reference. And then the wrestler could also come in here and go like, agree, coach. I wasn't, I was under the weather or something like that. These are probably bad examples for you guys, but and so you can see how you can get some back and forth interaction on match notes. And so talking to coaches, some coaches are going in and reviewing their kids' video and putting helpful tips and tricks and coaching points into them. Other coaches are taking an approach that's like, hey, I want you guys watching the video. I'm going to know you're watching the video because I want you to put a note in on your matches that then I can look at to see what you need to work on or need to improve, etc. So definitely take advantage of that new feature in MatBoss. Another feature that we've made easier and available through the app is the ability to like telestrate on the video. So almost like a John Madden telestration. If you click on the pencil icon that is next to that text bubble, the video is going to stop at that point, and you're going to have access to drawing tools and colors to be able to illustrate on the video. And so, you could come here, potentially draw an arrow, put a note on there that says, feet are too wide or something like that. And then you can grab it, you can move it around, you can play with the drawings a little bit. And then when you're done making your drawings, you hit save. And then you'll notice that there's a pencil icon on the timeline that shows there's drawings right there. And so now if we go back and we watch this, we'll watch this in full speed, or in regular speed, I should say. Get it playing again. Um, when the drawings get to that spot in the video, what's going to happen is the video is going to pause so you and the wrestlers can see the drawings, pause for a couple seconds, and then the match will carry on. So in that way you can illustrate kind of throughout. There it is right there. Feet are too wide, and then it carries on. So you can kind of illustrate and provide coaching tips throughout the video. And it's just another coaching tip or tool that you can utilize. Again, if you're recording a match in a duel, and let's say you threw some extra matches at the end of it and that you don't want counted in the duel score and you don't want the stats included for the wrestler, an easy way to just mark that match as an exhibition is here at the top. You can go ahead and flip that. That'll turn it into exhibition. Won't be counted in the duel score, and the individual stats won't count for the wrestler if it's an exhibition. If you needed to move this match to a different event, like let's say it got recorded in the wrong event, you can just select the event that it's in right here. Right now, this match is in St. Agnes. You can click on this and move this by just selecting the event that it should be in. And then lastly, I want to show you a really nice new feature for rescoring a match and how to fix scoring problems within the app. So, if you just have to fix like one score, if you click on this edit mode in the lower right by the timeline, all the scoring events will turn yellow. And then um you can fix the scoring events kind of one by one. So let's say that like on this takedown to close the period one, that was marked by mistake. I can click on that specific scoring event and I can delete the scoring event. And so now I've fixed the score, I've fixed that scoring event, and you can kind of manually update these one by one. That works if you just have like one or two small fixes that you have to make. However, if you got the match and the scoring is completely messed up, or maybe the managers got the video, they uploaded it, and there's no scoring on it, we incorporated a new feature into MatBoss this year, which is this rescore match. So again, you can get to this rescore match by either clicking edit here, or if you click on the more in the upper right, you can see there's a rescore match function here. So I'll go ahead and click rescore match. And then it's going to ask you to confirm, yes, I want a rescore match. Now what happens is the match starts playing from the beginning, and you have the scoring interface, almost like you're recording the match from the iPad. So I'm going to mark the takedown. Looks like we just got an escape. So it's almost like you're the manager here. You're watching the match, and you have the ability to just rescore the entire match, right? It looks like we're going to get another takedown. I'll mark the takedown, and you can just rescore it in that way, which is way easier than kind of picking and choosing all those individual scoring events. And then when you're done rescoring it, end of period, you can click this period plus, go to the next period choice, all that good stuff. But then when you're done, you click save in the upper right, and now the score has been updated, all the stats have been updated, and you're kind of good to go on that match.
Is there a way to choose blood time?
We do not have blood time. MatBoss
Okay.
doesn't track blood time in the app at all.
Okay, perfect.
We've gone back and forth on it, and we've kind of come to the conclusion that there isn't a compelling reason for us to track blood time because um we're never synced up with actual clocks in the match, right? And so tracking the blood time we just felt like was something that's not necessary within MatBoss.
Yeah, that brings up another point. When you're
Yep.
rescoring the match,
Yep.
and like right there, Anthony Nichols there, I think one, two, three, like fourth one down. It
Yep.
says win by fall, minute 32.
Yep.
Um, how first of all, is that um how do you do that with stats? Because if the manager started and stopped the clock like between periods or something,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. So does that incorporate into the stats? And then how do you do that with different reports?
Yeah. I will show you how to mark a fall. When I show a recording of the video, I'll mark a fall and show you how you can change the fall time. But the fall time is going to default to whatever the video time is when the fall was hit. And so, but then you have the ability to override it. And you
Okay.
can always come up here where it says win fall in a minute 32. Let's
Yep.
say this was actually like 1:30. You can click on the override fall time here and change that to
Oh,
1:30.
yeah, that's important because uh not to bring up a glitch, but the managers totally screwed up all the scoring, so I had to redo all my matches.
Yeah.
And when I was doing a fall time,
Yeah.
every single fall time was going to 000.
Okay.
So I'll
Yeah,
bring that in. That's a
I can
good
look at
way
that.
to.
But what you can do is come in here and override it and put in the actual fall time.
Yeah, that's perfect. I didn't know that before, so that's awesome. That's
Yeah. Yeah, no
great
worries.
information.
No worries. Okay. The other ways that you can get to your video are if you're looking at your roster, you can just click on an athlete's name and all their matches for the season will be listed here. So that's another easy way to kind of get to video. Maybe a wrestler comes over, is like, hey coach, can we look at my video? All you have to do is click on their name in the roster and it'll show that. Um, another way is on the left-hand side of MatBoss, there's a matches tab. And this matches will show all of your matches in the season in your account. And then you can filter those matches at the top by by different levels, varsity, junior varsity, middle school, etc. Or you can sort it by, you might want to just find matches from a specific event, or you can narrow it down by a specific wrestler. But there's a really powerful feature on here for returning customers, and this is a new feature that I want to point out to you is the ability for us to break down your video by scoring event. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a wrestler and then I'm going to say I want to see all the video clips where this wrestler is getting taken down. So I'm going to click on any scoring event and then I'm going to click on T3 against. And you can do for or against, etc. But I'm going to grab T3 against. And so now it's showing me all the video clips of this athlete getting taken down. And if I click into the first one, it's going to take me to that takedown. And then you'll notice in the upper right hand corner, there's this next T3 against. So you don't have to go back out of the video and then click on the next one. Instead, you could just kind of quickly navigate to each of these clips by clicking on the next T3 against. So I'll click on the next one, see where we're getting taken down again. Okay, I watched that. A go behind. Now let's see how we get taken down here. All right, looks like an outside single. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. So this is an easy way to quickly like look at specific scoring events on your video in your account. And you don't have to pick one wrestler and do it. You could also, let's say your team had a dual meet last night. You could pick that dual meet event and then say, hey, we got turned a lot last night, guys. I'm gonna pick I'm gonna pick the near fall against and look at all the ways we were getting turned last night. So I want to point that feature out because it's a new feature and I think I think it could be super powerful if coaches want to use it. Any questions on any of that video review so far? Okay. I'm going to jump over to stats and reports. So because while you're filming, you're also capturing the scoring events. MatBoss automatically calculates a ton of different metrics and analytics for you without you having to do any extra work related to it. So in order to look at your stats, all you have to do is click on the stats and reports on the left-hand side. You can filter these stats by different scorebooks. You can filter stats by just a specific event. So you could say, I just want to see the stats from this dual meet last night or this tournament, etc. Or you can narrow it down by a wrestler. We have multiple tabs here of data listed. And so individual stats are like number of matches, wins, losses, winning percentage. We have a metric in here called the MatBoss Power Index, which is the higher the number, the stronger the wrestler. Falls for, falls against, tech falls for and against, all that kind of good stuff. Where this data gets really powerful, though, is the fact that we've broken your wrestlers down by position. So, like if you click on this neutral tab, you can analyze how your wrestler is doing on their feet. So, we're going to show you how many times they've been on their feet, how many takedowns they've gotten, how many times they've gotten taken down, kind of percentages either way, what their point differential is from their feet, the average number of points that they score every time they're on their feet, how many times they've gotten the first takedown, etc. But then we also do that from bottom position, where maybe you're looking at, okay, how many times has this athlete been on the bottom? How often do they get away? What's their getaway percentage? How often are they getting turned when they're on bottom, etc. And then obviously you can do it on top where you're looking at how often is my athlete turning somebody? How often are they getting pins? How often are their opponents getting away? All that kind of good stuff. And then we also break your athletes down by period, by scoring by period. So you can look for trends like these athletes are getting outscored significantly in the first period, right? That's either a function of they need to work on their feet, or potentially they're not getting a good warm up in and they're coming into their matches cold, etc. Same with third period and overtime. Maybe you're looking at this and identifying some conditioning issues or something like that. You can download these stats into Excel. So some coaches like to download this and modify it. Maybe there's some metrics that they're tracking that we're not, etc. We'd love it if you would send us those if there are some metrics that you think are valuable, because we can always build them into MatBoss. But some coaches like to download it and modify it and play with it in like an Excel format. You can do that with this download CSV. We also have the glossary here of all the metrics. So if you're wondering, like, what does this metric mean? How do I use it? You can take a look at that there. We also have a series of pre-built reports available to you. So if you go to the top of stats and reports, there's a reports tab. And so these are a bunch of pre-built reports. We have team level reports, event reports, individual reports, etc. And what I would say is just go in here, start looking at some of those reports, figure out the reports that you like. But these are reports that are easy to print. Maybe you can print some of these out and bring them to seating meetings, etc. So an example of a report you might bring to the seating meeting is if you click on an individual's match summary and you select a wrestler, I don't know, I'll just grab one randomly. Uh, you can see their breakdown of matches here, varsity matches, JV matches, record, results, who they were wrestling against, print that out, bring it to the seating meeting, etc. Another example of that a lot of coaches like is this leaderboard. So like every week, coaches like to print out this leaderboard and put it on the wrestling wall. And this will be like a top 10 list of your athletes in a number of different categories. So definitely get familiar with those pre-built reports, find out what you like, and just know that they're available for you to use. We also have a section in MatBoss for school records. And so this is all static data that you guys need to enter. But you have the ability now to track school records across all of the years of your program, including adding wrestlers from the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. in here. And you can track your school records and have a record of that and be able to update this as new records are broken, etc. And then you can always turn that into a printable report, put it on the wrestling wall, maybe put it into the program at the year-end season banquet, etc. I'm going to pause there on that. Any questions on the stats and reports? Okay. All right, logins. So for returning customers, you'll notice that we've changed the way that logins work, and we've changed this to try and make it easier and less cumbersome for coaches to get athletes and other coaches added to the account. And so when you click on logins, you can see all the coaches that can log into your account. You can see all the wrestlers that can log into your account. And then you can also see all the former wrestlers that can log into your account. One thing to highlight is with former wrestlers can only view their own matches. They can't get into anything else into your account. So you don't have to worry about if one of your former wrestlers is coaching down the road and they still have a login here. As a former wrestler, they can only view their own stuff. They won't be able to use it to scout your team. If you want to invite coaches or wrestlers to have a login to your account, in the past in MatBoss, you had to go in and put in every wrestler's email address. We would send them an email, they had to click on it, and then they could log in. The problem with that, it was a lot of work for coaches to do that. But also, a lot of schools would block the emails, and so athletes would never get them. So the way that it works now is all you have to do is copy this link at the bottom of the logins. And once you copy it, you can put it on a team board, you can email it, you can text it. Your athletes would click on that link, create their own login, and then that login will show up as a pending invitation, and then you can just finalize it or accept it. Once you accept it, then they can get into the account. But nobody can get in until that's been accepted or approved by a coach. Any questions on that?
If we call you, can you reset a password?
We no, we cannot. I mean, technically I probably could, or there's kind of a way around it to do it. But there's also a forgot password link. And if your athletes aren't getting it, then we should talk about it. But they could use the forgot password link. I can't see what any of the passwords are. Like all that is
Yeah, yeah.
encrypted and we can't see it. But
Okay.
um yeah, maybe you and I can talk about that after the call here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. On the left-hand side, we have a library. This library is just think about this as a content area where you guys can add documents, you can add links to technique videos, etc. So use this however you want to. You know, coaches, this team has put a bunch of tech links to YouTube technique videos in their account, but you could also put like a PDF form to a parent approval or a skin form or whatever you wanted your team to be able to see in that content area. And then lastly, we built a message board into MatBoss this year. Right now, we're in phase one of this message board. Phase one is MatBoss can post messages into this message board. In the future, we're going to make this so that coaches can put messages in here for their team to be able to see. You know, like, hey guys, bus leaves at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. Bring this singlet. Bring some extra snacks, etc. And so you guys will be able to communicate with your teams in this way. And if you're a team that's paying for extra subscriptions for like Team Snap or something like that to communicate, ideally by next season, we're going to make this so that you can communicate with your team in that same way and maybe not have that extra subscription. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump over to my iPad. So just give me 1 second to get that set up. And I'm going to show some recording. That I'm having a tough time with here. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about this. Here we go. Okay. All right. So All right, so right now I'm mirroring my iPad to the screen. So I wanted to show kind of match recording, etc. here. Okay, so I'm in my MatBoss account. Let's say it's the night of the duel. Your events would be loaded onto the iPad because you've put them into your account. The iPad is synced, and you can always make sure that it's syncing. If there's a green check mark in the lower left, that means it's connected to the internet. As a reminder, you don't have to be connected to the internet on the iPads to run MatBoss. You can run it not connected to the internet. It's no problem. So let's say tonight we have this dual meet here, this training versus MatBoss training dual meet. If you click into that dual meet, there's no matches in here currently. You can click to add matches. The weight classes that show up there will be the ones that were configured in your scorebook, like I showed earlier. And you can either add all matches or you can add a handful. So I'll add 5 matches here. As you can see, we're looking at your roster and trying to pre-fill the wrestler name from the roster in here, but that's all we're using that level and weight class for is to try and pre-fill it. If it's the wrong wrestler, you can just click on the wrestler name and pick somebody else, save it. You also have access to opposing rosters. And so you can see right now there's no opposing roster that's assigned to this duel right now. So if you want to assign an opposing roster to this duel, all you have to do is click on the more at the top. There's a link here for opposing rosters. And then you can find the team that you're looking for. So let's say this is a team from Georgia. If I click on this, I'll have a list of all those opposing teams and their rosters. And again, this is available even if you're not connected to the internet because we're loading these rosters onto your device every time it syncs. But I'll say, let's say we're wrestling Baldwin, Georgia. I'll add them. But let's say this is an individual tournament and there's like 5 or 6 teams here. You can always grab multiple rosters. We'll add Alcovi. Let's grab Alpharetta. And so you can add multiple rosters to these events. So you have access to those opposing rosters. And then after you've added them and they're listed here, click save in the upper right. And now when I click on the opponent name, you'll see where it says roster. I have access to those 3 teams. And so let's say we're up against a kid from Alpharetta. I'd grab that Alpharetta and now I have their roster here and I can just grab one of their wrestlers and then save it. You can always update the wrestler names, your wrestler or the opponent, before the match, during the match, or after the match. So don't get too stressed if like the names aren't right, whatever, because all of this stuff, similar to scoring, like it can all be fixed later. The most important thing is that you get the video uploaded to us, and then all of that, anything can be cleaned up at a later time. So don't get too stressed out if you're like, "Oh, I don't know who this is. I don't want to start recording it because I don't have the opponent in or something like that." Like you can always update that later. All right, so now we have this 103 match ready to record. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the record button to start recording. You guys can see that I'm on the call here with you. I'm in my office here. All right, so your wrestlers are always the buttons on the left-hand side. The opponent is always on the right-hand side. And even if the colors are different, so let's say you're in an individual tournament and your wrestler got the red ankle bands, you can just come here and hit this color switcher in the middle, and you can see that now you guys are red. But your wrestler is always this left-hand side, okay? To start the recording, you press the red circle. I can see that I'm recording because the timer's going. As a reminder with MatBoss, you can start and stop the video as many times as you want, and we keep that video file together as one. So like if there's a long blood time or wrestlers go out of bounds or there's a huge pause between periods, you don't have to record all that. You can stop it and then just make sure that the manager picks it up again, and starts recording again. All right, so now that you're recording, let's just start scoring. So let's say we get a takedown. I'm gonna mark this T3 here. Oops, sorry. I minimized the screen there. So let me go in here. I'm recording. We get a takedown 3. You can see the score is 3-1, 3-0. Let's say they get an escape. I'll mark the E1. It's now 3-1. We get another takedown, 6-1. And now let's say they get a reversal. It's 6-3. Referee comes over, is like, hey, I'm calling that reversal off. That was actually an escape. It's easy to fix. All you have to do is click on the X next to that last reversal on the timeline. So I'll click that X. You can see we put the wrestlers back in the position they were at before, fix the score, and now you can just mark the escape like that. Okay. You can't fix, like, I can't go back and fix this takedown 3 here unless I work myself all the way back. And the reason that we do that is if we allowed like just random fixing of scoring events in the middle of a match, the positions, and we're going to start getting unrealistic scoring sequences and things like that. And so we're trying to avoid that. So that's why if you need to fix things, you just work your way back in that way. When it's the end of the period, you hit this plus button here. We'll say we take bottom, and then you just continue scoring, etc. Now, coach, you asked about marking pins. So here I'm marking it. If I click let's say we get a pin, I would click this sudden victory here, mark the fall. You can see that we pre-filled the fall time with the time on the video that I set it. So let's say 135, but let's say that was actually 130. I can edit that to 130 right here and click save. And then when you're done recording, you just click save and done in the upper right. It's going to ask you to confirm. And now we've just saved it. And so now you can see that matches here, windfall 130, etc. And there was that match that I kind of left early there that was 3-0, but we can see the dual score is now 9-0, etc. And these two matches are here. I can also see that the video hasn't been uploaded to MatBoss yet because there's a gray cloud here in the status column. That means the video is still sitting on this device. You can still watch it from here, and you could still edit some scoring and things. You can't do the full rescore until the video's been uploaded to MatBoss, but you can edit scoring events if you need to. You can change wrestler names, etc., even before it's been uploaded. Okay, now let's say we've recorded the whole duel. Now we're going back home. We're going back to the school where we have good internet. We go back out of events. We need to get this video uploaded to MatBoss. And so you'll notice here on the video uploads tab, there's a 2. That means there's 2 videos that need to get uploaded. So you just click on video uploads, make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi, and then click upload all videos. And what's going to happen is these videos are going to go in order and get uploaded to MatBoss. Once we know we have the videos safely, we're going to remove the videos from your device so that we know that we can keep the storage clean on the device and it's not being filled with a bunch of old videos and things like that.
You have to stay on that screen for it to continue to upload, or can you like start the upload?
Yeah, we recommend that you get the upload going and just kind of leave it and let it do its thing.
So you can actually lock the iPad and all that, and then
Yeah, I
it'll
believe
be in the
we have it
background.
where the app won't go to sleep when you're on the video upload page here. So you can just let it run overnight. Like make sure it's plugged in so you have enough power, connect to internet, hit video uploads, and then get all those matches up.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And so now if I go back into that event that we were just filming in, I can see that now those clouds here in the status column are green. Green check mark. That means they're in the MatBoss cloud environment now and have been uploaded from this device.